The PNP abandoned intelligence for propaganda and gimmickry, and it will backfire. Hello, my people. Greetings to one and all. SkyWalker here. This struck me on Sunday evening when I watched TVJ's local spin news, which I hadn't for the longest while. After seeing Dayton Campbell, it came home that many of Jamaica's politicians will only do to Jamaica what poison does to the human body. Don't take what they want to feed you, or you will be sorry. It is mind boggling to see how far these cultic minds will go to score political points. Even though it is conspicuously senseless, the PNP must say it anyway. They are so confident of an overwhelming, fully dunce majority that will believe them and only them, for their party was manipulated to be religiously cultic. I don't know if they all have churches, but they are like religious leaders. The sheep must follow them blindly. They have so many preachers in their corners too that drive out the evil spirits, which still manifest in their awful, deceiving words and behaviors. With sorcery, they always try to mislead. But most people are so blind, even in this info age. Mind science used for evil is sorcery, and spells can be made by way of words of alphabet. I hope you open your eyes and get it. I mostly see this with the PNP than with the JLP. And it is because of their different circumstances. The JLP does not need to lie because the facts are in their support. The JLP always has their successes to point to. The PNP has to throw mud in order to get the JLP leaders down to their levels, or seemingly so, that they will have a choice to defeat them in an election. Think about Edward Siaga, Bruce Golding, and now see what they try to do to Andrew Holness. But this time, they do not consider the conditions well enough. They will defeat themselves, campaigning for the JLP without knowing it. In the past, opposition parties would have to do their best to make intelligent remarks and rebuttals to be seen as an option. In Jamaica today, the present government is arguably the most successful in the country's history. This is largely an international consensus. Based on history and success, the PNP has nothing to show to get them out by. So their solution is darkness, mayhem, and deceit. It matters not if they destroy the country in order to be at the top. They have already proven it with FinSac. They opt for propaganda and gimmickry, even if what they are saying makes no sense. Either they know that Jamaicans are that stupid or they are underestimating Jamaicans. The post-burial interventions by the Jamaican government is commendable, since the JLP came up with an impressive amount of funds without having to overly increase the debt. This in itself, unlike much that goes on in the country these days, was unprecedented. For the reason that the government did that well, we should expect Dayton Campbell to concede to what he could not deny and then make smart propositions that would encourage the people to think he could do better. He had to pour cold water and politicize the matter. He did the exact opposite, exposing what appeared to be an extreme lack of intelligence. But was it deliberate? People will try to slight your mind without realizing that it makes them look stupid. Like Oral Tracy reading the facts that prove that Andrew Holness had no excessive funds to investigate and then using it as a basis on which to question Andrew Holness's excesses. It is like seeing a vehicle with a white plate on it and using it as proof that it is a taxi cab. Another time, it was him, that same Oral Tracy, trying to explain why the PNP, who obviously lost an election by the same age-old rules that existed since creation of elections, had won. Hmm? He was trying to spin the rhetoric into saying that the PNP who lost the election had won. And he tried this stupid act of mind sorcery just because Mark Golding wanted to celebrate a victory, although he had lost. Spilebrat thing, right? Golding wanted to use his privileges and change the rules. And oral was spinning like a gig, like Fox News, as some black men often do when they see a white guy, spinning and gigging. You will laugh and believe these people are dummies. You know, I used to laugh, but now I see that they know what they do. It's a serious game to them. They are not going with intelligence, and it is deliberate. They are not going with intelligence because it would not work in their favor as the truth goes against them. Don't you see? You cannot tell the truth and say you lost if it proves you lost. It only emphasizes the fact that you lost. You say that JLP called the game. JLP called the game. They bought votes. The rules must be changed or some other hogwash. Oh, and I saw PNP buying votes that same day too. Imagine that. They are deliberately going for gimmickry and propaganda, witchcraft by way of word sound, exploiting the fickle mind of ordinary Jamaicans and especially those who are not very intelligent. Manly had it good when most of their supporters were dunce. Now it's changing and education is more accessible since the JLP got a chance to work and make it so. I remember how hard the PNP challenged them. The PNP did all to stop the JLP from bringing education and health to the health care to the reach of all Jamaicans. Yeah, I said the PNP did all to stop the JLP from bringing education and health to the reach of all Jamaicans. I was there. The PNP were claiming that it was not financially viable, while the JLP was saying that it had to be so. From Bruce Golding to Andrew Holness, they fought tooth and nails for us in that regard. No, people don't have to worry about healthcare as badly as they did under the PNP. But look at the fuss the PNP still makes today. Like they were not the ones who always opposed healthcare and dedication for the masses anyway. It's so hard to forget. Oh, they wish that we were all duds so that they could give the white man, Mark Golding, a rod of correction from Selassie and call him Holy Joshua, the servant of God, Golding with the rod of correction. It like that could even have worked before. It worked with Michael Manley. The PNP know that when you tell a lie, even when it is corrected later on, it still carries a great portion of effect counteracting the truth going forward anyway. The PNP has never had anything to campaign on, or at least not very much in the history of Jamaica and the PNP. And that's why they have always to be the party that abandons the truth. Anyone who knows psychology knows this very well, and anyone with common sense can max it out. Michael Manley did thief Marcus Garvey's manifesto, but because he did not have that level, he could not even apply it to the Jamaican conditions. The great ideas became a flap in his hands because they fought out the hero Marcus Mosiah Garvey and tried to capitalize on his intelligence by being that intelligence, which they were not. Because they had no great history to bank on, Manly drew for propaganda and crime or intimidation politics, even driving out residents from their communities to achieve majority resident votes in the area. Unfortunately for them, this is the end of that evil spell of sorcery upon the people who were uneducated or ignorant. But not altogether anymore. It won't work anymore. And as Mark Golding said, in the most shocking moment of truth, the economy is doing fine. Kudos to Andrew Holness. He has so much to campaign on that it's not funny. As Holness is black, he should invite Mark Golding to come to his meetings to talk economy. The religious PNP fools will believe their white God. Mark Golding with the rod of correction from Selassie. Or maybe wholeness can imply a white guy to speak on the podium on his behalf. The PNP will come up with tribalizing ideas, like to say that you are PNP no matter if the PNP is failing Jamaica. My father claimed the dog in the yard was socialist too. He even threatened to paint it orange. And as usual, Oral Tracy points fingers at the JLP for the evil the PNP invented. The dog in the yard rhetoric that my father told me so many times that I cannot forget. That's what you call tribal politics. Someone who cares not for intelligence but only for a tribe. But Stochman is pointing fingers at the people who work with intelligence. Make that make sense. If I was a die-hearted socialist, intelligence and wisdom would never open my eyes. Blame the high school literature teachers who taught us about separation of issues and comprehension skills. Some of them did those intellectual wrestling matches with us until we became sharp. They were turning us into intellectual warriors and we did not even notice it. Education is effing up the PNP, I realize. Those days are over, which is sad for the PNP. I am a free mind that neither JLP nor PNP can turn into a puppet. Today, I speak based on the existing truth. This is unfortunate for the party that only lies and propagandize. I hate this kind of behavior. Everyone who knows my channel sees I was always hard on Andrew Holness before the PNP opened their mouths and made him seem like Jesus' friend. The last comrade I spoke with said he would not vote for JLP because there are too many fishes over there. I don't know what that had to do with elections, but obviously we all know who should not be talking. They want to claim that Andrew Holness has illicit enrichment, but the facts they expose prove otherwise. And still, they claim that they believe so because the PNP leaders that were proven corrupt, including Mark Golding with FinSac, are so upstanding and believable to them that whatever they say must be gospel. They accuse Andrew not based on the facts they propose, but on the words of people like Mark Golding, who cannot stand up and say he did not partake in FinSac, or the blood money of FinSac that destroyed the Jamaican economy, that some people even committed suicide, and that was not involving a puny little 400 million Jamaican dollars, which Andrew did not steal. For the FinSac, it was tens of millions of US dollars that went to PNP pockets and hundreds of millions that were lost to the nation's coffers. They tore down the nation by 25% of GDP just to stuff tens of billions of US dollars in their own pockets. This is one of the reasons why many of you still no get no road yet. You cannot ever make sense of the PNP and their supporters if you try. The PNP can only keep pandering to die hard, but they will never be able to reach out to intelligent people who separated themselves because of being tired of the ignorance. They abandoned intelligence a long time ago. That is what the PNP did. And reasoning minds demand intelligence. I guess their mistakes was allowing their children to go to high school, and the JLP called the game by making education accessible for all Jamaicans. Only an uneducated Jamaican will keep voting for the PNP all day. One PNP person said that labor rights only deal with criminality. Here we go again. Another oral Tracy. Reaction formation psychology. It makes no sense to me. The PNP is the party that endorses convicted criminals or even bring them in to run as MPs. They will tell you that everyone needs a second chance, which I agree with. But you will hear the person who needs that second chance still declaring himself a gangster. Why point fingers then? How does it make sense to always accuse the other person for your own faults? How does it make sense to say that Andrew Holness stole a lot of money when Mark Golding is the one who got rich off the exploitation of our people? Andrew is simply a broke man by comparison. The IC reports prove he is possibly the cleanest politician ever, but the PNP would try to spin it just like they tried to spin the local election last and say it was a win. Dayton Campbell was on his spinning way recently too. I found it funny. The progress of the assistance provided by Agriculture Minister Flight Green to farmers affected by Hurricane Beryl has been significant. There was an immediate response to the crisis for farmers by the Jamaican government. The Ministry of Agriculture announced an allocation of 700 million as an immediate response to support farmers impacted by the hurricane. This funding is being used to purchase critical items for rebuilding, including infrastructure repairs. Farmers have started receiving assistance with efforts focused on providing seed, fertilizers, livestock, and technical support. The distribution of aid is ongoing, and the ministry is working to ensure that affected farmers receive the necessary resources to restart their operations. Moreover, farmers are being encouraged to reach out to RADA indicate that they need more assistance with plowing the land, etc. The difference between the JLP and the PNP is like this scenario. Say the PNP used to give us rusty nails for spoon. Now, the JLP comes and give us beautiful silver spoon. For now, whilst actively working to graduate to gold. Meanwhile, the Rusty Nails PNP is cussing and complaining, saying that if it were them, we would be using diamond spoons. But it was them. It was them for most of our lives. And we would have died if the JLP had not saved us from those rusty nails. But no, they are there yapping and yapping. Can this not be seen as hypocrisy? Same thing with the recent mishap where that little girl did not get to do that operation, unfortunately. The PNP is causing and trying to make a big scene about it, behaving like during their tenure, we were not all dying for need of hospital care, which was non-existent almost, and people died because their families could not pay hospital fees. What we have now is not perfect, but it gets better every day, and attention and care is being placed on it. The health ministry is working. We are being saved from the days of the PNP, and the good thing is that it keeps improving. For those that have the tendency to go back all the time, know that we want to progress forwards towards prosperity. No backing back around here. The agriculture the agricultural sector is steadily recovering, with the minister noting that the sector is on the rebound. I mean, already on the rebound. Regular meetings with farmers and stakeholders are being held to evaluate and guide the recovery process. There is also additional support. The government has launched the REACH program. The REACH is like, I would say, REACH, REACH. It's relief, emergency assistance, and community help. I think that's what they call it. So it's a program to further support recovery effort. This includes the distribution of food, essential supplies, and additional funding for housing and reconstruction. While progress has been made, challenges remain, including in ensuring that all affected farmers receive the necessary support and addressing any ongoing infrastructure issues. The government is working to solve all these issues. The ministry actively continues to work closely with farmers to monitor the recovery process and provide ongoing assistance. Overall, the recovery process is moving forward, but it will take time for the agricultural sector to fully bounce back from the devastating effect of Hurricane Beryl. Dayton Campbell must stop with the hypocrisy. We won't go back to his party getting the many Boer goods for farmers and stealing them for themselves, although they were not farmers, locking up hundreds of them in a container to die while farmers are begging for even one. Imagine that. Imagine the hypocrisy. Just imagine. Dayton Campbell, in criticizing a grand effort by Flight Green, claimed that St. Elizabeth has around 30,000 farmers in total. He argued that if only 3,000 farmers received help, it means only 10% of the farmers were assisted. How nonsensical is this statement? Huh? If one child in a 500 resident primary school disappears, does it mean that you have to go looking for 500 students, or that finding that one would not be sufficient? Like you would have to go and find the entire school population before you would help the situation. I thought you would go and find the one that was lost. What kind of math does Dayton Campbell practice? Campbell cluelessly assumes that all 30,000 farmers in St. Elizabeth were affected by the hurricane and to the degree that they needed assistance from government. Yet, even if all 30,000 were affected, there would still be the degree of the effect, and the government would only be able to help those in worse scenario categories. That is natural. In reality, the number of farmers affected and needing aid is not necessarily or automatically the same as the total number of farmers in the parish. That's not how things work, Dayton. If only 3,000 out of the 30,000 farmers were affected by the hurricane to the degree that the government deemed essential for assistance, then helping those 3,000 farmers would mean that 100% of the affected farmers received assistance. And this is just an hypothetical scenario. So don't say I'm saying that it was only 3,000 farmers that needed help. Government assistance programs are never in any country carried out with infinite funds. However, the Jamaican government is doing a fine job with helping as many as possible, and not just the 3,000 banana and plantain farmers, Ethan. Not all farmers in St. Elizabeth are banana and plantain farmers. Campbell is politicizing the issue by misrepresenting the figures and circumstances to make it seem like the government is not doing enough. But he does it to the degree that he also sacrifices his credibility as an intelligent and able political leader. Who wants a leader who is dunce to do the math? No intelligent person would. Is Dayton Campbell erroneous, disingenuous, or fully dunce? Whichever one you pick, it will not absolve him of the image of mediocrity. Politicians must be careful about the image they cast upon themselves when they try to play like devils. Since the JLP found their way back into leadership, intelligence is now a thing in Jamaican politics, and rightfully so. The PNP has always been the party to abandon it for propaganda and gimmickry, even to the point that now they cannot seem to retrieve it for themselves if they tried. And that is where the JLP has the upper hand. Propaganda and fake polls are going to fail in the end. People, or at least the non-voters you are pleading to, walked away from the PNP because the PNP was not behaving intelligently. They wanted to hear something that made sense. This is why the PNP lost by a landslide the last time. Even PNP members refused to vote. No, the PNP is still there trying to pander to diehards who are already on their wagons. You can tell diehards that SHIT spells sugar all day, and they will just imagine that they believe you and vote for you. You cannot tell the non-voters that walk away that SHIT spells sugar because that was what they were running from in the first place. You manipulating and talking pure mockery in their ears. Seems you all don't get it yet. Was Campbell's error more about a misunderstanding of the numbers rather than an intentional misrepresentation? Can you see where either way it seems bad on his side? Either way, the error seemed to be in his reasoning and math as he incorrectly assumed that the total number of farmers equates to the number of farmers needing assistance. Reens claimed that 3,000 farmers received aid is accurate as long as they were of that number targeted for help at that particular stage. Campbell's rebuttal is simply an indictment on someone who claims that if you vote for him, he could do better with matching up the maths that he proved he cannot match up. Wisdom is simplicity, man. Do the simple things right. Stay simple. Don't overthink and complicate stuff. And then you will always catch the fool that tries to play wise. The PNP was given more time to prove themselves to Jamaica than the JLP was. They have always failed. The JLP has always been the only winners in terms of political party accomplishments. The JLP is the party that always bails out the country, saving them from the PNP. That's Jamaica's history. PNP mash it up and JLP save the people. Why would you remove them when they are moving forward and not going back? To replace them with who? The sure losing PNP that lasts every single time. The losers think on these things, my people. Peace out.